So I ended up cutting myself while I was digging clay out there. Kind of a superficial cut, just a little nick. Enough to bleed pretty fucking good too. So I might have to get that cleaned up. Put blood in the water. Even after I rinsed it off, man, it ain't wanting to clot up. Wait and do something about that right quick. Good enough. Okay, I got a lot going on today. I'm gonna get this dirty again. I just tied it off real quick with a piece of rag and just washed it off in water. Tied it up real quick so it helps the blood clot, and then we're gonna be moving on. We don't need no first aid kit for a little tiny nick like that. We'll clean it up good when we get home. Coming around to the back side of the build here, this is what I've been working on this morning, and I'm kind of in a rush to get done. There's the dome for our fireplace. That is our fireplace. All encased now in clay. We're letting that set up a little bit. We're going to be mixing up the clay to put on the inside of that. So the outside is completely covered, sealed with the original wall here. And we got that little bit of overhang that'll help protect what's down below from rain washing all of it off too fast. But we got it all set up here and blocked out. So we got the dome on the inside, and it comes up right here to this square for the chimney. And then these pieces, where these pieces here are, we'll be pulling these out. We put these in earlier in the build to leave that gap there, because where our fireplace is at, we got to coat this really heavy in clay to protect the wood on the inside of the wall from the heat in the chimney, coming up out of the chimney. So we got to protect the shelter. So we put these inserts in here, so whenever we put that clay on, it gets kind of a hold in there and can grab onto it in a couple of different places. And that panel basically that we're building right there fits right into the wall. And then on top of that clay layer that will protect the wood wall underneath, we'll be putting on some blue shale to help protect it even more. So it's just a heat shield going in right there, because there's going to be a lot of heat coming out of that chimney. So over here we got the old clay pit all mixed up and ready to go. Got to turn that. We just put the water into it, and then we'll walk around here real quick and I'll show you what I'm about to be doing. It's still really early in the morning out here, guys, so it's kind of dark, but we'll see if we can get a view of what's going on inside here. So here is our fireplace on the inside. You see those upper stones up there? That's what I'm going to be covering up in clay next. We got to push clay into all of those cracks and everything and make that a kind of a solid wall, and then merge it with the bottom panel. So all of that's got to be fitted up real nice and neat and sealed, so we don't have smoke traveling back inside of the dome, and it just goes straight up through the chimney. And then of course up here where our mantle, we're starting to build our mantle, that's got to have a little bit of a lip on it that comes down so the smoke gets up in there and gets caught, and the heat gets caught up in there kind of like a heat well, and that's what starts the vacuum to suck all the smoke out of the build. So a little bit of detail work. We should be able to fill that in with 2 trays of clay, and we'll be well on our way to building our chimney. Alright, and there we are. All sealed up on the inside. Still got to smooth it out a little bit. Do have a little stone there. We might go ahead and detail around. It's jutting out just a little bit more than the back wall, so we'll probably smooth that out. But other than that, she's all sealed up. Tried to brighten this up as much as I can, but the build is so dark right now. It's just hard to see in here. It's even hard to see the work, but there it is, all chinked up on the inside. We'll take a little bit of water and smooth that out so we have a nice smooth surface, and that goes right up into our chimney. So good deal there. Yeah, kind of in a rush today to get the fireplace and chimney done, because we had around the cold weather come in there a few days back and completely eliminated my odds of getting any clay out of the bank. Everything just got covered in snow, and that slowed me down for a couple of days. We had the thaw come in. I waited for the thaw, got out here, and the section of the bank that I've been cutting the clay out of is actually wet, so it's just prying right out. I got extremely lucky. So getting clay out of the bank today is really easy. If I would have waited till tomorrow, it might not have been the same consistency. If I would have come out yesterday, it might have still been froze up. So it was a perfect day to come out here and work on the build and get done what we needed to get done as far as the fireplace goes. The only other project I got is mounting the door, and mounting the door I'm really not worried about. I did have others say, had commented that we got this amazing build, but we don't have a door on it. The door don't matter. I had a fire out here the other night without the door on. I just draped a blanket over it, an extra blanket that I had, and it got hot as hell in here because there's no place for the heat to go. So I ended up actually having to open it up a little bit and let some cooler air in. We're just that well insulated right now. So door on or not, I mean, it's no big deal. It's kind of irrelevant, actually. You see guys out doing winter overnighters in open face shelters. They don't have a fully enclosed shelter like this. They just have like a tarp thrown behind them, and it's just your typical Bushcraft 101, kind of lean-to shelter, completely open face, exposed to the weather and stuff like that. And they're fine. They make it through the night. In a shelter like this is the fucking Hilton compared to those, lean-to shelter type deals. So I'm not too worried about the door, but I was worried about getting the clay for the fireplace and the chimney, just because it takes so damn long for it to set up. We only have maybe a couple of weeks left where I'm going to get, viable clay to work with before it just gets cold enough and stays cold enough that the permafrost forms up and the ground's just going to be too hard. Even right now, it's cold enough and dry enough over there where sometimes I have to chisel it out with my axe and, then take it up. I'm not really worried about hitting it with my axe because there's no stone or anything like that in there. It's just sand and clay. It's actually polishing my axe up and getting some of the rust off of it from my last trip out. So it's actually working out pretty good for me today. I just need to keep the process going, keep bringing clay up, mixing the pit and letting it set up a little bit, and then as that's setting up, then I'll be hauling the stone up to start running the chimney up, at least get halfway up the chimney today. Got some detail work that I'm going to be doing here on the inside too. I got a couple of cracks to fill in, which is expected whenever we're working with clay. Got my highlights at the top and that little overhang there that I want to go ahead and touch up. So a couple more rounds of clay, a few hauls of stone, and that project will keep going, and then we might go ahead and patch the door together and mount it up. Alright guys, I'm kind of task oriented right now, so I'm not filming a lot of b-roll or construction of the build at this point. I'm just trying to get it done. But here you can see how I put that extra layer of clay on up against the wood wall, and it's all caked up with blue shale. This mixed right in with the clay, and then a few larger pieces there on the outside. And that stretch right there is just to protect the wall from heat coming up through the chimney. So now that that's on, I can go ahead and start stacking stone. That'll take it up about as far as I want it to go before I have to ledge it out there at the top and bring it out to bring it around the frame. So that's what I'm working on now. It's looking pretty good. But there you can see that kind of extra protective barrier that I put on the build, just so I don't have to worry about the shelter catching fire no matter how hot I get the fire going inside the fireplace. So just a layer of protection. Now I'm going to start stacking that chimney on there. Alright guys, here's the progress so far. We got our main dome, and then it's finally coming up into this sort of half round chimney going up there. We're about a quarter way up the wall now, but this is to the point now where I got to start thinking about the structural integrity of the stack, because it's a very thin stack going up this, and I can only go so high before it starts getting a little wobbly, and that's where I'm at right now. The clay's a little too wet, it's a little too wobbly. As I put the next layer on, I can feel shifts happening on the layers underneath, so I might have to let that set up a little bit before we put the next set of layers on. I am focused on the inside, making sure the inside is smoothed out as I go up. I want that just about as smooth as possible, but I gotta focus on making sure all the cracks on the inside are filled up, because as I go up I can't reach down in there and fill those up later. So I can always do the outside whenever I get done, because this is just surface area, but the inside has to be done as I'm going up. So much more important for me to focus on the inside than it is on the outside. But there's our stack so far. Not a bad deal. Get around here. Clean up a little bit. This seems to be the angle that I'm always sitting down to talk to you guys at. Wiping off with my old rag here. This old shirt that I left down here with my son on it for the deer is pretty well spent. I mean, it's been out here for a year now, wearing it on and off. I only took it home twice this past year to wash it and start it all over again. But mouse got to it and tore it up, so now we're just using it for a cleaning rag. Again, very task oriented today. I'm not out here to film a YouTube video, to be honest. I don't care whether this video gets filmed or not. It's about getting the build done. So that's why I'm not fucking around, filming a bunch of B-roll of me just building, because that's what I'm spending my time doing. And it just is what it is. I mean, we've seen it before. I had mentioned in a video I released earlier this week that I'm not too worried about the changes coming up on YouTube. I'm getting that's the same feeling that led me to making that video here today, where I'm saying I'm just focused on the build and not focusing on making a video. That's just because I'm enjoying the build time without having to worry about the camera, and I enjoy being out in the outdoors without having to worry about whatever the fuck is going on with YouTube. So the same principle kind of applies, and I don't know, guys. YouTube is, this is kind of being able to film videos and share this type of deal with you guys is almost a side effect to what I normally do. And I had gotten into a discussion yesterday, with a gal over on Instagram who does a lot of outdoor stuff and things like that, and but she's just got this different approach. None of her photos are staged or anything like that. You don't see these gear spreads or anything like that. You see this real intimate portrait of her life on her public Instagram account. And she said that whether she's taking photos or not, her life is her life. It's the same whether there's a camera on it or not. So she didn't think that it would be a good approach to go out there and stage photos like you see a lot of people staging photos or staging videos, staging builds, trying to script out and plan out what you're going to do for your YouTube channel to make it different or stand out from everybody else or keep it going. There's too much complication to it. If you're not doing what you just normally do, you lose the authenticity of it. So, yeah, my YouTube channel, I'm not worried about it one way or the other. I was doing this before I started YouTube. I'll be doing it long after YouTube's dead and gone, and we're all on a different platform trying to do a different thing. It really has no emotional impact on me at all. I am not stressed about it. I just don't care. Nothing lasts forever. Whenever I first got online, I think the biggest website at the time was Yahoo, and everybody was in Yahoo groups. That was a big thing. Or Yahoo chat rooms was a big thing. And eventually, being on written forums where you got to read articles and respond to articles and all that other shit, Reddit's the only thing that's left now where people actually enjoy doing that. Doing videos and photos, that's just sort of an instantaneous thing. You could say a lot in a video, and you can say a lot with a single photo that you have a hard time expressing with writing it all out. Nobody fucking writes it all out anymore, so everybody over there at Reddit is just obsessed with everything's got to be written out, or there's got to be a write-up, or all this other shit. They're out of time. Like, nobody gives a shit about that anymore, really. And the same will eventually happen with video. I don't know what will replace it next. Forums died, chat rooms died. Eventually YouTube and doing these type of videos is going to die, and we'll all move on to something else and not really care about it. So I had a huge community around me back on Yahoo days, running Yahoo groups. Had a huge community. At one point in time, I ran the second largest outdoors community social network in the world. I was a co-owner of that network. I was only the co-owner for about 6 months. Then I got bought out for 10 grand. So I've had a lot of experience with online forums. I've run my own forums. I've run some massive forums. I've moderated in excess of 130,000 people all at once. Shit on the web comes and goes, and it comes and goes quick. YouTube ain't gonna be around forever, no matter how much anybody wants to swear to it. It came up, had a pretty good run so far, but now you're starting to see it sour, just like every other website soured before it. MySpace made changes and eventually ran all their people off. Facebook's been making changes, and people are against Facebook now. I mean, it's just, people get so wrapped up on the fucking internet that they forget what else there is out there in the world. And that's kind of where I was at with coming out here today. It's just focusing on the build, getting it wrapped up, tucked down in for winter. Got a few nice days here that I can enjoy. I don't have to worry about snow or anything like that. Tomorrow's actually going to be drier, sunnier, and warmer than today. So tomorrow I'll probably come back out and go ahead and do the door. Another thing I'm not worried about, the big thing was getting the clay out to start working on the chimney, but now I'm so far up on the chimney, I did make good progress today coming up 4 or 5 feet on that thing, that I'm worried about the stability, so I might let it set up overnight, finish it off tomorrow. We'll go ahead and finish off the rest of the wall now that we got our base down. But not a lot of B-roll to that process. It's just hauling stone, cutting clay, and slapping it together. There's really nothing to see that we ain't seen before, and I don't want to get repetitive like that. So that's what I did out here today. It's just kind of hanging back, pulling back from filming the video, and just enjoying my time out here. So that's where I'm at now. I'm going to go ahead and finish my pipe, and then we might move on and do something else while this was sitting there. Alright guys, I'm actually getting ready to head out now. Did a little bit more work here on the inside of the build. Got my ledging put on back there at the top of the fireplace. I'm going to let that set up, do the detail work tomorrow after it dries out a little bit. It's going to take, I don't know how well it's going to dry as cold as it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit warmer tomorrow, so tomorrow might be a better work day. But she's looking pretty good now. I'm happy with it. We'll go around here to the back side one more time and take a look at this. It is setting up already. It's been about an hour since my last time having the camera on. It's got a little bit tackier, so progress, guys. Still got a little bit of blue shale to work with there. Still got some stone over here that we can stack on there tomorrow. I'm just going to let this section, that section right there that I did today, set up, and then we'll go ahead and do pretty much the same height there tomorrow, and that'll take us on up to the peak once that stabilizes a little bit. But she is up high enough now where it would act like a proper chimney. The longer the better, but we can see down in there a little bit. We got our firewall there. It protect all that blue shale and extra clay will protect the wood in there from heat coming up through the chimney, but it would act like a proper chimney. Right now it's just a little stunted, so let the clay here set up, let that tighten up a little bit, then we'll come out here tomorrow, fill in the cracks on the inside before we go a little bit higher, that way I can reach down in there and get to it. Make sure that this here is stable, and then it's just a matter of putting a line of clay in and stone, clay, stone, all the way up. We just got to do it in sections. I mentioned that during the live stream series. Damn, camera's looking a little foggy. So, tomorrow we should be able to have the chimney on up to the peak, and that'll pretty much wrap it up as far as construction on the build goes. Like I said, it's going to be a bit warmer tomorrow than it is out here today, so I don't have any trouble getting more clay out. I do got to do some maintenance work on my axe when I get home, because it is completely caked in clay from digging it out. We'll go down there real quick, and I want to show you guys one more detail here before we move on. I actually have plans for this ledge that we're forming down here, so we'll take a look at it real quick. I'll show you where I've been mining the clay out a little bit closer and what is happening down here and what I intend to do with it come next spring. So we do have a lot of wood and everything laying up in here that got washed down the creek and then wedged in. A lot of erosion happens here, obviously, but this past year the water has never gotten up high enough to mess with any of this. So as we've been doing the build, this is our sort of mining area where we've been taking all of the blue shale clay out. You can see the clay strip. Let it focus here. You can see the clay, the blue shale clay in there mixed with lines of sand. So that's what I've been pulling out and mixing up, and we're leaving these shelves in the bank here. We're going to be seeing, this is sort of a man-made cave a little bit where we're digging back into the bank. Water don't go up there to flood that out anymore, so we're going to be taking that kind of cave area, putting some debris in there and some rotting wood, keeping it moist, and see if we can get mushrooms growing up in there, kind of like a grotto, and make it a kind of like a sanctuary for salamanders and things like that. So we will have that going on too. We'll kind of repair the damage that we've done, taking all of that clay out of the bank by turning that shelf and that sort of cave area in there into something else, just sort of landscape it, and it'll stop the erosion. It'll also make a good shelter for tiny little critters that like that type of environment. Build's looking good. She's holding up really well. These front walls don't get touched by any of the weather. Again, not worried about the door. I just put a blanket over that if I'm in there in the evenings or after dark, and it stays plenty warm in there just like that. I could even have it open just for the ventilation. So today, guys, I wanted to come out here to get I knew I was going to have to put the chimney up in sections, so I wanted to get at least the first good stretch of it up before the weather just gets the best of us on this end. Oh man, it is getting cold. It's going to get a hell of a lot colder. So tomorrow that base will be set up and we'll be able to put that top section on. So I was thinking it was going to have to go up in 3 or 4 sections, but we did get enough height on there today where it's just going to have to go up in 2. once I get closer to the top, then I'll start closing in the mouth a little bit, so I don't have to worry about so much weather coming down through it, whether it's snow or rain or anything like that. Don't want that just flowing down through the chimney and getting onto the fire. So we will close up the mouth a little bit, which will also help with our drafting. It'll get that extra push to push everything out of the shelter and not let it come back in. So tomorrow the build's going to be all wrapped up as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if I'll bring the camera out for that or not. What I do intend on doing though is, after I get these last little finer details done on the build, then we'll do kind of a side video, a series extra video, where we're just touring the build, where you get to see every little detail, and we'll make sure it's lit up. Try to get some daytime and nighttime footage of the build. Make sure we got a fire roaring in that fireplace, you know, that we spent so much time building. We've had small fires in there, and the only reason I've started off with small fires is because I have to heat the stones up slowly. They have to be exposed to heat really slowly because we are using river rock. So I can't just build a bonfire inside that damn thing and have it roaring. It's got to be small fires to start off with until that clay bakes a little bit. The clay does protect the stone from a lot of the heat, but I don't want those stones inside that fireplace cracking on me, or worse, just flat out exploding because I put too much heat on it all at once. So kind of baking the moisture out of the stones, because again, we are using river stones on there. But after a few small fires in there, enough to warm the shelter, but not enough to get that really, really hot. After a few of those, then we can go ahead and fire that clay properly, get us a good coal bed in there, have that thing roaring, fix us something to eat for the very first time inside our fireplace. So we got that coming up too. Time-consuming process. We've been working on this build for a year now. We spent the whole year scouting this place out, exploring this forest, tracking these deer, and working on this build. It's been a blast this year. Now we're wrapping it up. We're coming to the end of the year. We're wrapping up this project. We are not going to be moving on to another build and another build and another build like I see some other people doing. I'm not just going to do build after build after build after build and not actually stop and enjoy what I've built. So through the winter here, we'll be doing some bow hunting, which is my next big thing that I want to focus on, is just going hunting. That's going to be coming up within the next couple of weeks. Heading down south, doing some hunting down there, and we'll get our kind of our 2020 shift to the channel in. Camp will be a base camp. From there, we'll be spiraling out and doing other things. We are not going to spend the entire winter just coming out here to the build, fixing some food and going home. We're not going to do a Bushcraft 101 thing. None of that. This is base camp. This is where we come to rest. The work is out there in the forest. The adventure is out there at the forest. It's not going to be found sitting on our ass at camp. So, lots coming up, guys. Lots coming up. We'll do a round out video of the build after I get the door tied on there and the chimney done, which will be done tomorrow. So it'll be done by the time this episode airs. I'm filming a little bit of it in advance now. And that's just because I got so much other shit going on at home. I got to start having that kind of wiggle room as far as the schedule goes. And that's one of the reasons that the part of the build that I'm at now, where you sort of have to let it rest and set up a little bit, it's okay by me. It's not stressing me out. It actually works to my benefit. So a few hours today, a few hours tomorrow. Build is nice and tight. Fireplace and chimney's completely done, and we can move on to doing other things. So with that, guys, I'm almost out of the woods. I'm gonna head back to my truck, get warm, go home, fix me something to eat, spend some time with my girls, and then I got some shit there on the home front that I got to get done today. Trying to keep that happy work-life, family balance going on. You know, prioritize things. This, not really a priority right now. I did want to get out here and get the work done while I had the opportunity to do it. We did that. Time to move on to the next thing on the to-do list. So But that, guys, thank you for coming with me this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it's a little shallow by way of content depth, but we'll see what we can do about that on next week's episode. I'll see you guys next time.